Republicans are standing by President Trump even after major election losses and bombshell testimony, and now they're calling Democrats dumb. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump is nothing if not a pioneer of the English language. You might think he's just making up words or doesn't know how to read, but that is not the case. You see, Trump doesn't make errors, he makes discoveries. He's like a scholar. Spends all night scouring obscure 15th century medieval texts looking for previously unknown words. Eureka! I found it. Lawmakers used to be called
lawmakers.
And recently, Dr. Trump has made yet another profound linguistic discovery. He's invented a new powerful word that he loves so much he has now used it twice at 2 different rallies in the span of 1 week.
First, they engineered the Russia hoax. That was a total hoax. The single greatest lies ever foisted upon the American people. Then it was Mueller. Remember Mueller with that hoax? The biggest lie ever foisted upon the American people.
That's right, foistered. He sounds like Daffy Duck trying to say faster. Foister, foister, the Democrats are after us. Trump is surrounded by so many sycophants that no one was willing to tell him foistered is not a word, so he used it twice. Soon, his underlings are going to start using it too. This administration is moving foister and foister than any administration in history, but we're being stonewalled by Democratic lawmakers. Trump's not the only linguistic genius in the GOP this week. GOP Senator Lindsey Graham went on Fox News twice to talk about the impeachment inquiry. Now, Graham was asked about testimony from one of Trump's hand-picked ambassadors, a guy named Gordon Sondland, who donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural committee. This week, Sondland admitted that there was a quid pro quo to get Ukraine to investigate the company that employed Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. That company was called Burisma, and yet Graham couldn't pronounce either the name Burisma or the name Sondland.
There was concern that the prosecutor was getting too close to Hunter Biden, that people from Burisma, whatever the name of the company, a conversation with Sunderland. Now, here's a question. Why did Sunderland change his testimony? Was there a connection between Sunderland and Democratic operatives on the committee? It makes me incredibly suspicious. Why did Sunderland change his mind?
You think he's in cahoots with the Democrats? You're not even in cahoots with your own mouth. Trump and Graham sound like 2 guys leaving a bar at 4 a.m. arguing who should drive home. Give me the keys, you're too foistered to drive. No way, no way. We need a ride. I'll call Sonderland. He'll pick us up in his Chevy Burisma. Also, verbal slip-ups aside, you think one of Trump's hand-picked ambassadors, a guy who, again, gave him $1 million to his campaign, is in cahoots with the Democrats? These guys are such paranoid freaks. They're going to start accusing everyone of being against them. Who's the whistleblower? Is it you, Rudy? What's that around your neck? Oh, no. Oh, no, I thought this was my lucky necklace. And yet, despite the fact that these guys can barely get 2-syllable words out of their own mouths, they're actually accusing Democrats of being stupid. Last night, during Trump's rally in Louisiana, Senator John Kennedy brought up the impeachment inquiry and said this.
And you know what our Democratic friends have done for him? Speaker Nancy Pelosi is trying to impeach him. I don't mean any disrespect, but it must suck to be that dumb.
I think you did mean some disrespect. I'm sorry, she's dumb? You don't get to call anyone dumb when you sound like a cross between Gomer Pyle and Foghorn Leghorn. I mean, again, I don't know how you can be so judgmental. The dude you're standing next to thinks foistered is a real word, and he can't even spell his own name. That's real. That is from a tweet Trump wrote himself. You know how you get points on your SATs just for writing down your name? Trump would be the first student in history to get a score back that said, maybe college isn't for you. That same Kennedy has also defended Trump during the impeachment inquiry by saying that even if there was a quid pro quo with Ukraine, Trump didn't intend to break any laws. Kennedy said in an interview, to me, it all turns on intent, motive. Did the president have a culpable state of mind? Based on the evidence that I see, that I've been allowed to see, the president does not have a culpable state of mind. That's because he doesn't have any state of mind. His mind is empty. If Trump took a meditation class and the instructor said, first, Begin by clearing your mind. Trump would immediately shout, "Done, I did it, mind cleared." Empty head cavern. So these guys think there's a shadowy conspiracy against them, and they think Democrats are dumb for pursuing impeachment, despite the fact that a majority of Americans support it. In fact, these guys are so out of touch with reality that when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi first announced the impeachment inquiry in September, Trump himself argued that it would actually be good for him.
I just heard that she'd like to impeach. And I mean, if she does that, they all say that's a positive for me from the election.
Oh, do they all say that? When you say they, do you mean your other personalities? Scared Trump says it's bad, sassy Trump says it's good, and nerdy Trump says bazinga. So Trump said impeachment would actually be good for him politically, and yet on Tuesday, Republicans saw major losses in Virginia and Kentucky, where a Democrat won the governor's race in a state Trump won by 30 points. Now, to be clear, Kentucky's incumbent Republican Governor Matt Bevin was one of the most unpopular governors in the country. He fought with teachers and tried to gut Medicaid, overturned an executive order restoring felon voting rights, and he tried to implement work requirements for Medicaid recipients. And I would just like to say, if we're going to start instituting work requirements for federal programs, maybe we should start with the presidency. I mean, Trump is always golfing. He never works. He's like that friend everyone has who's always posting photos from exotic locations, but when you ask him what he does for a living, he's like, well, I'm working on an app that tells you which Starbucks have the best bathrooms. Yeah, it's called Starbucks. So Bevin's defeat was a rejection not just of Trump, but of the GOP agenda on issues like health care and education. But the race was also very much about impeachment. In fact, a source close to Trump even admitted the GOP losses on Tuesday were a bad sign, both for Trump's re-election campaign and the impeachment inquiry.
A source close to the White House told CNN the results were totally bad. Kentucky and Virginia signaled to the GOP they are underestimating voter intensity against Trump, and it could be terrible for them next year. Bad omen for impeachment.
You guys really needed an omen to tell you things were not looking good? Republicans are like ancient Egyptians trying to predict the seasons. The air is cooling. What could it mean? We must look to the stars for a sign. Damn it. And what's worse for Republicans is they have no credible defense. They're flailing. In fact, yesterday, an MSNBC reporter caught up to Republican Congressman Mark Meadows, a staunch Trump ally. And Meadows was desperate to prove that Republicans were not losing the impeachment fight.
Hold on, we have Mark Meadows right here. Congressman Meadows, can we talk live? So he's walking by right now. But Republicans are really struggling to defend the president. Okay, great.
Struggling on anything.
Okay, so Congressman.
So the Republicans are not struggling on anything.
He's like a guy who's too proud to admit he doesn't know how to swim. I'm not drowning. Do not throw me a life preserver. I love the taste of salt water. I think I can see my grandmother. Also, can we hear that clip again with the tires screeching?
Congressman Meadows, can we talk live? So he's walking by right now. But Republicans are really struggling to defend the president. Okay, great.
Struggling on anything.
Okay.
And now, even Trump's own appointees are admitting there was a quid pro quo with Ukraine. So Republicans are changing their argument again. Yesterday, Lindsey Graham, the guy who couldn't even pronounce the name of one of the key witnesses, said Trump couldn't have orchestrated a quid pro quo with Ukraine because he is too incompetent.
What I can tell you about the Trump policy toward the Ukraine, it was incoherent. It depends on who you talk to. They seem to be incapable of forming a quid pro quo.
So they can't be criminals because they're stupid. It is not good when your defense is also a confession. No version of that is good. Either they broke the law or they're morons. Like if a cop pulled you over and said, "Do you know the speed limit?" and you responded, "Of course not. I'm too drunk to read the sign." So I guess what Graham is saying is they would have committed the crime, but they were too
Dumb.
This week should put to rest any speculation that impeachment would somehow help Trump. It should also remind us that the GOP agenda on issues like healthcare, education, and voting rights is deeply unpopular. I don't know what will happen in 2020, but so far, Trump's plans have been
Foistered.
This has been a closer look.